Hello everyone, my name is Tyra the Stitcher, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to make your own star keychain, which I think are perfect for beginners. In your kit you should have received yarn, a hook, darning needle, and a keychain, and a stitch marker, and you're also going to need your own pair of scissors for the end. Before we start, I'm just going to give a couple of disclaimers. First, in order to crochet your star keychain, I'm going to be going over different techniques in this video. However, if you want a more in-depth tutorial on the different crochet techniques, try watching my basics of crochet video that goes over all the basic techniques and stitches of crochet. The next thing is that crochet involves a lot of patience. When I teach you some of these stitches, you may need to do them a couple of times just to get it right, but keep on trying and you'll eventually get it. First, we're going to start off by learning how to hold the hook. First, we're going to take the hook and we're going to grab it and we're going to wrap all of our fingers around and put our thumb at the top like so. Kind of like how you would hold a knife. Pretend like you're chopping something, and that's how you would hold the hook. So as you're crocheting, you'll use your thumb to drive the force and then wrap around with the rest of your fingers. Next, I'm going to teach you how to hold the piece. Next, we're going to grab the yarn and we're going to open it like so. Then we're going to take our less dominant hand and we're going to spread it out like this. We're just going to pretend like there's a crochet piece at the end of this yarn right here, but we're going to take the end of the yarn and then we're going to place it over our pinky and then just secure that with your thumb underneath the next two fingers and over and around your pointer finger. Then we're just going to clamp that with our pinky and our ring finger to hold that in place. So you just pull that, make sure that it's tight. And like I said, still clamp that there. And then we're going to take our thumb and our middle finger and we're going to hold the end like that. So this is how you would hold the piece. And you'll notice that when you lift up your pointer finger like this, it should create some tension in this yarn right here. So when you're crocheting, you want to make sure that you have enough tension by lifting up your finger and then also pulling down on the yarn. So that will ensure that your yarn is never too loose. Whenever you start to crochet, you want to make sure that you always hold the yarn like this. Otherwise, you may have some difficulties when you're crocheting. Next, we're going to start with a technique that's called the magic ring. And this technique may take a couple of tries, but as I said before, keep on trying and then you'll eventually get it. So next we're going to take our less dominant hand and we're going to take our pointer finger and our middle finger and make sure that the fingertips are facing up like so. Then we're going to take our dominant hand and then we're going to just take the yarn like this and then drape it over our two fingers, making sure that the short end is facing us and then the long end is facing away from us. Then we're going to take our thumb and just secure that at the top. Then take the long end, so make sure you're taking the long end and not the short end, and we're just going to take that and wrap it around and then form an X at the top. Then we're going to bring that back down to where the next strand of yarn is, and then just hold that with our thumb and our ring finger. Then we're going to take it and then we're going to twist it so that you see two strands of yarn at the top. So we have an X at the bottom where our fingertips are, and then two strands at the top. Then we're going to take our hook and we're going to place it underneath the first strand of yarn and then over the second one. Then we're going to pull the second strand of yarn underneath the first one, and then we're going to twist with our hook. So this is what we should currently have. Next, we're going to take our thumb and our pointer finger of our dominant hand, and then we're going to take that and pinch the top. So make sure you pinch everything where the twist is and then also the other strands of yarn. We're going to grab everything. If you only grab one strand of yarn or one part, it's going to come undone. You're going to have to start over again. But starting over again is not the end of the world, but you want to make sure that you grab everything. So after we grab everything, we're going to place the yarn on our hands just like how I told you before, making sure that you're still grabbing everything at the top. So don't let go unless you want to start over again. So we're going to take our less dominant hand, spread it like before, and then place our yarn over the pinky finger. Make sure that we're doing this with the long piece and not the short end. So over the pinky, underneath the next two fingers, and over and around the pointer finger. Then this is where we're gonna swap hands. So we're gonna take our thumb and our middle finger and we're gonna swap where we're grabbing this piece right here at the top. Remember where we grabbed everything? We're just gonna swap with our thumb and middle finger of our less dominant hand. And now everything should be on our less dominant hand. So next, we're gonna just pull this bottom long piece of yarn right here so that it's tight. And now we could grab this hook, like how I told you before, in the knife position. And then we're gonna do something that is called a yarn over. So make sure that we're still grabbing this base right here to make sure that it is secure. So we're gonna take our hook and we're gonna place it towards us. So we're gonna move the hook towards us and then underneath the yarn like so. So we should end with the hook facing away from us. So this is what we should have currently. And then we're gonna take our hook and then pull it through that first loop. So here's what we currently should have. That technique that we just did where we pulled the second loop through the first one is actually called a chain. So let's go ahead and do one more chain. So if you remember, that involved us yarning over. So that means the yarn is over our hook and you want to make sure that the hook is facing away from you. Every time that we yarn over, you want to make sure that the hook ends facing away from you. There's something that's called a yarn under that you may be compelled to do where the hook lands towards you, but that is actually not what we want. We want to make sure that the hook lands away from us, like so. Then we're going to take this strand of yarn and then pull it through the loop that's already on our hook. So here we just chained once and then chained twice. So we have 2 chains on our hook. Congratulations, you've just completed your first magic ring. The next step is to place a half double crochet stitch inside of the magic ring. And if you're not familiar with that, that is completely okay, because remember, this is for beginners. So first, in order to do that, we're going to yarn over, just like how I said before. We're going to make sure that the hook lands away from us and not towards us. So this is what we should have. And then we're going to take the top part of our hook and then place that inside of the magic ring. And here you can see that I'm actually opening up the magic ring with the rest of my fingers. So you could do that in a way that is comfortable to you. So just make sure that you place the hook inside like so. So here's what you should have. You should have 2 loops on your hook and then you're inside of the magic ring. So that's a third one. And then next we're gonna place our hook behind the yarn like so and then pull that through. So you're going to be compelled, and I'm going to do this over again just to show you what not to do. You're going to be compelled to wrap your hook around, but that is actually not what you want to do. You only want to have 1 loop on the top and then just hook onto the yarn like so and then pull it through. So you don't need to wrap it around. Now we have 3 loops on our hook and it's above our magic ring. You want to make sure that all 3 of the loops are above your magic ring. And then you want to yarn over once again, making sure that the hook is facing away from us. So now that we have 4 loops, we're going to take this last loop and then place it through these 3 loops. This may be a little tricky, but I really want you to take your time with this. And here's some tips to take note of. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that your hook is facing downward towards the magic ring. So there's how you do half double crochet. So let me show you that again. And I'll show you ways that will make it a little bit more difficult for you. So here, I'm just gonna try to pull it, but you see that the hook is not actually facing down, it's facing sideways. So here it's pretty hard for me to pull it through. And likewise, if I face it upwards, that's gonna be pretty hard to pull it through. But when I face my hook down, that makes it a lot easier, you'll see. And then I'll take my time to just go through the individual ones. The next thing you wanna make sure that you don't do is you don't want to push your hook down like this or pull your hook up. You wanna make sure that you're pulling the hook to the side. So that's all you need to do. If you push it down, then you're actually gonna be pinching it to where it's gonna be kind of hard to pull it through. You just wanna glide it across with your hook down, and then take your time and pull it through each individual loop. And if that still doesn't work, the last thing that you can try is you can actually take each of these individual loops. So pull your hook to where it's right at the base, and then you could take this loop and then pull it over so that we have that original loop here, and then do the second one, and then do the third one. So that is, that should be your last resort, but that should work as well. So now that you've completed your half double crochet, we're gonna take our stitch marker, we're gonna open that up, and we're gonna place that in our first stitch. So pull up a loop to make sure that you don't lose that stitch that you just did. So let's take a look at what we have. So we have our magic ring, and then we did a chain 2 on the side, and then we have our first stitch here. If you are not familiar with what a stitch looks like, it basically looks like a little V right here. And we have the loop on our hook, which doesn't count as a chain or a stitch. And then the first stitch that we did is actually this little V that's right next to the loop on our hook. So we're gonna take our stitch marker and we're gonna place that inside of our first stitch. Now, before we continue, you wanna make sure that you're still holding the piece correctly over the pinky, underneath the next 2, and over and around the pointer finger, and then grab that with your thumb and your middle finger. And then pull that down to make sure that it's not loose. So next we're gonna continue with 9 more half double crochet stitches inside of the magic ring, and I'll be doing that along with you. So we're gonna first yarn over, making sure the hook is away from us, and then place your hook inside of the magic ring once again. So this is what we should have. And then we're just gonna hook onto the yarn. Once again, don't wrap it around like that to where you have 2 loops on your hook. Just grab it with the base of your hook and then pull that up so that you have 3 loops above the magic ring. Next, you want to yarn over again. So this is what we should have. And then place your hook down, pull it through. And here we have our second half double crochet. So let's do that again. So I'm just going to tighten that, and then we're going to yarn over, and then notice that I'm lifting my pointer finger up because that creates tension while I'm crocheting, and then I'm holding the magic ring. So I did my yarn over, then I'm going to place the hook inside of the magic ring, then I grabbed the yarn, and now I have 3 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull that through all 3 with my hook facing down. Now let's just recap. We should have 3 stitches. So let's count. 1, 2, and 3. So we have 3 stitches, and that is correct. So one thing you want to keep in mind while you're crocheting is that you don't want to lose the tail of your magic ring. So you see how mine is kind of short? Once we get to a point where your magic ring tail is lost, then that means that you've lost your magic ring. So you always want to keep track of your tail and make sure that it doesn't get lost. So you want to make sure that it's not super short like this. So after every half double crochet, you want to make sure that you could still see your magic ring, because if you get to a point where you don't see it and it comes out, then you have to start over again, which is not the end of the world, but it will be great if you don't have to get to that point. So next, let's continue. Let's do 7 more. So I'm going to yarn over, place my hook inside of the magic ring once again. Then we're going to hook the yarn and pull it up so that we have 3 loops above the magic ring, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. So take your time once again. So let's continue. Yarn over, place your hook inside of the magic ring, grab the yarn with your hook, don't wrap it around. Then we have 3 loops above the magic ring, yarn over, and place that through all 3. So let's continue. Yarn over, place it inside of the magic ring, then we're going to hook, pull it up, yarn over, and then pull through all 3. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do 4 more. Yarn over, place it inside of the magic ring, grab it. Now we have 3 loops above the magic ring, yarn over and place through all 3. Let's do another one. Yarn over, place it inside of the magic ring, grab this piece of yarn. Now we have 3 loops above our magic ring. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 with the hook facing down. Now let's do 2 more. Oop, I lost the placement. So when you're crocheting, you want to make sure that you always have this placement and make sure that it's tight, because once it starts to get loose and you lose your placement of the yarn, it's going to make it harder for you to crochet because you won't have enough tension. So let's do 2 more. Yarn over, place it inside of the magic ring, grab the yarn, pull up 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3. Let's do 1 more. And when I'm doing this, you'll see that the end of my magic ring, the tail, is still facing out and I could still see it and I'm not crocheting around it, so we're good. So we're going to yarn over, place it inside of the magic ring, then grab that piece of yarn, pull it up, and then yarn over and place through all 3. So here we have 10, but let's just count and make sure. Starting with this stitch marker, which tells us where the first stitch is: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you don't have 10, then make sure that you have 10 by either taking some stitches out or adding more in there. Now, we're going to take this tail in and we're going to pull it. So you should be able to pull it and then the middle of the magic ring closes. If you're pulling it and it doesn't close properly, then that means that you probably locked it in place and you should start over, which, like I said before, is not the end of the world. You could just start from the magic ring and then continue half double crocheting until you get to 10 again, and follow along with the video. Next, you can see that we have a circle, but it's kind of a broken circle. So in order to close this circle, we're actually going to take our hook and then we're going to place it in our first stitch. And we actually have our stitch marker in the first stitch, so it's easy to figure that out. So we're going to take our hook and we're going to place it where that first stitch is and then put that inside. So next, we're going to yarn over again, and we're actually going to pull this piece of yarn on our hook that we just grabbed, and then we're going to pull that through this stitch. So now that we pulled it through that stitch, we have 2 loops on our hook, and we're going to take this loop and pull it through the original loop. So I just pulled that through, and what we just did was a slip stitch. Now we've completed the first round, we can continue to the second round. So we're just going to take this stitch marker and just move it down so that it's out of the way. Next, we're going to place a half double crochet stitch in the second stitch. So here, once again, this is the first stitch where the stitch marker is. Now we're going to move to the next stitch, which is this V or braid right here. So this is the first one. Here's the second one. Next, we're going to place a half double crochet stitch inside of this stitch right here. So we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to place our hook inside of that second stitch. So this is what we should have. 2 loops on our hook, and then our hook is inside of the second stitch. Then we're going to grab our hook and then place it on top of the yarn like so. And then I'm going to pull it through that stitch, and take your time when you do that. So now, just like how we did the half double crochets before, we have 3 loops on our hook. So in order to complete this half double crochet, again, we're going to place it through all 3 loops. Next, we're going to place something that's called a double crochet stitch inside of this same stitch that we just crocheted into. So we place a half double crochet in this stitch, and you could take the stitch marker out at this point. We don't need that anymore. In order to do a double crochet stitch, we're going to yarn over and then place it inside of that same stitch that we just half double crocheted into, which is this one right here. So you can just see this is the half double crochet and this is the stitch. So place it in that same stitch. Then once again, just like what we did with the half double crochet, we're going to grab the yarn, pull that through so that we have 3 loops on our hook. And now, instead of pulling through all 3, we're going to yarn over and pull through just 2. So these 2, 1, 2. Now we have 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over once again and pull through 2. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to chain 2. So if you remember, in order to chain 2, we yarn over, making sure that the hook is facing away from us. Then we're just going to pull that loop through the original loop for a chain 1. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through for a chain 2, and then we're going to do a mirror of what we did before. So we're going to place a double crochet in this same stitch, right? So we already have a half double crochet right here. Then we have a double crochet inside of this stitch. So we're going to yarn over, place a hook in that same stitch, push it through. Then we're going to yarn over and just grab that, pull it through, take your time. Now we have 3 loops on our hook, and here we're going to do a double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then next we're going to place a half double crochet in the same stitch once again. I know it's getting kind of crowded, but trust me, you'll be able to push it through there. Now we yarn over, we place it in that same stitch, and then grab that yarn again, pull it through so that we have 3 loops on our hook, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 with our hook facing downward. So here's what we have. So here you can see we have all of these stitches coming from this same hole, right? And if you pull it to the side, you'll be able to see where that stitch is. So here's this stitch, here's the next stitch, right? So here's the second stitch. So that means that this V or braid or stitch, whatever you want to call it, is the next stitch. So we're going to take our hook and place it inside of that next stitch. And then we're going to place a slip stitch. And if you remember, in order to do a slip stitch, we're just going to grab that yarn, make sure your hook is on top of the yarn, and then just pull it through. So we're not going to wrap it around like that. We're just going to grab it, make sure that the hook hooks around the yarn, and then just pull it through. And make sure your hook is facing down. So now we have 2 loops on our hook. So we're going to take that second loop and pull it through the original one. Now you'll see that what we have is a point of the star. Now we need to make 4 more, right? So next, we're gonna do the same thing that we did before. In this stitch right here, so this is where we slip stitch, we're gonna move to the next stitch right here, and we're gonna place a half double crochet. So yarn over, place it inside of that stitch, then we're gonna grab that, pull it through, and then yarn over, pull through all three. And you'll see that my hook was facing down when I did that, and I just slid it across. Next, we're gonna place a double crochet. So yarn over once again, put that inside of that same exact stitch. So where that half double crochet stitch is, you'll see this hole right here. Put it inside of that hole, then yarn over, just grab that yarn so that we have 3 loops on our hook. Now we're gonna yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Next, if you remember, we're gonna chain 2, so yarn over, pull through that loop, yarn over, pull through that loop. Next, we're going to place a double crochet stitch. So we're going to yarn over once again, put it inside of that same stitch where we placed all of the stitches before. So the same one, push it through there, yarn over, and pull through that stitch. So now we have 3. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And lastly, for this stitch, we're going to yarn over and place a half double crochet. So place it in there, yarn over, pull through. Now we have 3 on our loop. So we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. Next, you'll see that we have all of these stitches in here just like how we did before. Just pull that off to the side, and you'll see this is the previous stitch that we just finished, and here's the next one right here. So for this next one, we're going to place a slip stitch in there. So push your hook through the next stitch, yarn over, just grab that yarn. Remember, we're not going to wrap it around the entire thing. We're just going to grab it at the base of the hook and pull that through so that we have 2 loops on our hook. And then we're going to pull that loop through the original loop. So next, we're just going to continue that same pattern, and I'm going to do this with you one more time, and then you'll finish it off on your own. Next, we're going to place a half double crochet stitch in the next stitch. So we placed our slip stitch in here. Now we're going to place a half double crochet in this next stitch, which is this one right here. So yarn over, place your hook inside of that stitch. Then we're going to grab it, pull it through so that we have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 with the hook facing down and just sliding it across. Next, we're going to place a double crochet stitch. So we're going to yarn over in the same exact stitch, put that in there, then we're going to grab that, pull it through so that we have 3 loops on our hook, then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Next, we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. Next, after the chain 2, we're going to yarn over and place a double crochet stitch. So now that we have the yarn over, we'll put our hook in that same stitch that we already placed the half double crochet and the double crochet in. I'm going to push that through there, then yarn over, or just grab that hook. Remember, we're not looping around. We're just going to grab it at the base and then pull it through. Now we have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Next, we're going to yarn over again, place our hook in that same exact stitch, push it through there, then grab that yarn again, pull it up so that we have 3 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. Next, we're going to place a slip stitch in the next stitch. So just pull that to the side. Make sure you pull it to the side because sometimes it could hide that next stitch. You might think, oh, this is the next stitch. But no, when you pull it to the side, you'll see this is actually the next stitch. So push your hook through that next stitch, yarn over, pull it through so that you have 2 loops on our hook. Then pull the second loop through the first one. So now you'll start to see that we actually have these points, and you're just going to continue by placing a half double crochet, a double crochet, then chain 2, and then a double crochet, and then a half double crochet, all in the same stitch. And then in the next one, this one right here, you're going to slip stitch, and then you're going to do the same thing for the last 2 stitches. So here's the last 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you should have 4 stitches left. I'll meet you after you do your last half double crochet stitch. Okay, so here I've completed my half double crochet stitch, and you'll see I have 1 more stitch left. So now that we've done that, we're going to take our hook and place it in that last stitch right there. Then we're going to do a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through so that we have 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to pull that through the original loop, and now we're going to pull up that loop and then grab our scissors. Next, you're going to pull up a loop that's about this long and then cut it. Next, we're going to take our magic ring string again and then pull that as tight as we can. And then here we have our star, but you'll see that the ends are not really pointy. So we're just going to take our fingers and then just pinch it, because the beauty of crochet is that you can manipulate it because it's yarn. So we're just going to take that and then just pull them up so that they're pointy, so that it looks more like a star, and then pull the center once again, and then pull this piece of yarn as well to secure that. Here's our star. Next, we're going to take our darning needle and we're going to take the piece of yarn that's on the outside and then just place that on the yarn like so. Just pull that through. And then we're going to take our needle and then just push that down to the center of the star. And make sure that we're doing this on the wrong side. So just look at the star. This is the correct side, and this is the wrong side where the tail is. So make sure you're doing this on the wrong side. So we're just going to take our hook and then just place it through the stitches going down. Then pull that through. Then we're going to take both pieces of yarn and then just tie them and pull them as tight as we can. And I like to double knot mine. Next, we're going to take both pieces and then we're just going to thread them. Maybe you could put 2 pieces in at the same time. Might be a little tricky, but I've never tried this before. Let's see if it works. Then I'm just going to thread that inside of the magic ring, and then I'm just going to thread that into the star in the nearby stitches. So it doesn't really matter which stitches you do, just pull that through. Take your time with this. You can do one by one. I'm just doing both to save time. And then just going to thread that through just a little bit more. Okay, that seems good. And let's pull it through and then pull that. Next, we're going to take our scissors and then cut that as close as we can without cutting the star itself. And now we've just hidden the tails. So now let's just manipulate the star to our liking, and then let's grab our keychain. Next, we're going to take the rest of our yarn and then place that through the needle. Then we're going to take one of the points that we really like and then just feed that through, and then you could take your needle out, and then once that's through, you just want to feed the end of the yarn through the keychain, and it's going to be a little fuzzy, so you might want to just twist it and then push that through. Grab that on the other side and pull that through. Now we're going to take the ends and then we're going to tie that super duper tight. So after the first tie, you just want to make sure that that's actually to your liking. So make sure that it's at a place that you like, and then Like I said, pull that tight again, and then you want to double knot it. Then we're gonna take our scissors and then cut it. And then just make sure that that's secure. If it's not secure, then knot it again. So next, we're gonna take these ends once again and then just use the darning needle to thread that through. My yarn is kind of short, so it's gonna be a little tricky. Just push that through, pull it, and then you can just manipulate the keychain a little bit more. And now we have our star keychain. I hope you had a lot of fun making your keychain. Please check out our other beginner kits at toppiesbytyra.com. And also please show us your process and your finished piece by tagging Toppies by Tyra. Bye!